Hey, how's everybody doing today? You may have seen in some of my other videos this old 770 sitting in the background. Kind of starting to get some stuff piled around. It's been in here for a while. The blew a head gasket back in June. One of the casualties of this summer. We didn't have the greatest summer on the farm last year. I don't think I had hardly any breakdowns. This year, had a gearbox go out on a roll baler. Lost the seal out of it while we were rolling. Didn't know it, about caught it on fire, but luckily we didn't. Had a bearing go out on the disc bind. I went to my backup mower, which is a Reese drum mower, and I ended up having a bearing go out of it the very last round. So I've got both those to fix. The roll baler to excuse me, the roll baler to fix, and then this one blew a head gasket. And I just rebuilt this tractor about 6 years ago. I pulled it down, that was in mid-June. I pulled it down, tried to see what was going on with it. Never really found anything definitive. It basically, we blew the head gasket. These are split heads, and so this is number 4 and number 3. It was this front corner right here between number 3 and number 2. I didn't see anything wrong with it, but it's possible when I was putting it back together, I didn't get that hole cleaned out properly. Sometimes I get distracted when I'm working on things and don't always get back to them. But one thing I did notice, when I pulled it down, I put my sled gauge on there, and I'll show you that here in a minute. And my back sleeve was flush. Got my book out where when I'd rebuilt it, I kind of had wrote the numbers down on a sheet of paper and just in a notebook, and everything was between 3 and 35 thousandths when I put it together. Everything was still between 3 and 35 thousandths except number 4 back there, and it was flush. I don't really think that had an issue with why we blew the head gasket, considering that the head gasket was up between 3 and 4 or 3 and 2. But what we're going to do to make it more than just putting a head gasket back on it, we are going to, I already ordered all the parts, we're going to drop the oil pan out of it. I can't remember on this one, I may have to take the counterbalancer out to get to number 4. I had to take it out to get to all of them, but I may luck up and not have to pull the counterbalancer out to put it to be able to get to the connecting rod on number 4. But we're going to push number 4 out, pull the sleeve, put a shim under it, put it all back together, and then put all the head gasket and heads and everything back on it. And this time I'm videotaping everything, so I can go back and look and see what I did or didn't do. So that's what we're going to be doing for the next few days here. We still got our little David Brown. We're waiting on parts on it, on the remote valve. And then once we get this tractor out, some things you'll see, I'll be doing the bearings on both mowers, the disc bind and the drum mower, and we'll have to fix the roll baler. And then we've still got an Oliver 1465 that I've had for years and years and years, that the hydraulic pump went out. So we'll be replacing the hydraulic pump on that. So those are all things to come. But right now we're going to concentrate on this. I'm tired of all the junk starting to pile up around it. And I want to get it back together and get it out of my shop, make some room. So stick around. So on these, one of the first things we've got to do, obviously drain the oil. I drained all the coolant when I tore it down this summer. But this is a power shift model, and if you've got any of the 70 series that are power shifts, the small frames, you've got a 830-730 that has a case-o-matic or an 8. Once you pull that oil pan off, you'll lose a lot of hydraulic fluid. Now, on this particular model here, there are, I believe, 5 plugs back through there to drain the hydraulic fluid. And so the front compartment right here has a plug right here, and it's kind of got a baffle up so far up in here. So honestly, I just drained the front one out, and I probably got maybe a half a gallon of fluid out of there. And that's what rides in that front compartment. So I drained that out, drained my oil. So now we're going to be ready to drop our oil pan off. And this line right here, you know, it's draining diesel fuel out. When I started pulling it down, of course, I just fueled up that morning when the head gasket blew. I was cutting some hay, and so I drained all that fuel out into about 4 or 5 different buckets that wanted to drain right there. Yeah, it probably would have been easier to pull the line at the back, but that's still a little bit of a pain. So I tucked this up out of my way right now. Everything's kind of drained out of it. Put my lid back on this. We'll move my fuel bucket over here out of the way. Now I won't put that diesel back in this tractor. I've got a barrel back here. I'll put that diesel fuel in and it'll mix in with the oil that's in there, and I run it through a couple of filters with magnets in them that will pull the metal out, and then it'll go back into a tank, and then it'll be run back through another set of filters with magnets in it before it goes into the tractor. And usually what I'll do is I'll blend that at about a 50-50 mix. It's used motor oil, hydraulic oil, got some diesel fuel in it. Anyway, I'll blend that back with some regular diesel fuel and burn that during the summer months. But nonetheless, we'll get started here. I'm going to drop this oil pan off, take my bolts, drop the oil pan out and drop the oil pan off. And I've got a carrier that goes on my jack that we built for another project, the Kubota tractor we're doing at school. But I'm going to see how that works on this one. May help me get this big heavy cast iron oil pan out a little bit easier. Alright, well, got everything ready. I was going to use the cradle, but we built that for the Kubota. That Kubota is a whole lot lower to the ground. So on this particular one it doesn't reach. So I'm going to have to build an adapter for this for future removal. I may build that adapter before I put this one back on, because this is a pretty heavy oil pan. I'll walk over here and get a couple of magnets, put these bolts in. I don't think one can have too many magnet trays. I use these on everything. Yeah, let's zip these bolts out. And then we'll have to go back and do some refining. And these bolts are different lengths. Some of them, front ones, a little bit longer down the side, are the shorter ones. I've got a frame rail on this side. Maybe I should have taken it off too. You got two that hold your piece on for your blow-by tube. And I think that's it right there. I think I've got one that when I took it out, it wasn't quite right. And I had to put a longer bolt in it and a nut and come all the way up to the front because it had been stripped out. So we will have to tend to that one. So I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. It's not a lot of fun watching me take out bolts. I'll catch y'all in a minute. All right, all the bolts are out of it. You've got obviously all your bolts around through here. You've got two long bolts that go up through the middle and the back, and then you've got 4 bolts that go into the bell housing. So start to ease her down. The reason I want, oh, there she comes. A lot easier. Oh yeah, I remember this last time. Likes to catch on the front bolster. So I need to move my jack towards the back. Raise the back up. Slide it back. Put the back down. That much trouble. There we go. Alright, so put it on down so I can stabilize it. And there's our oil pan out. That's why I love cradles, they hold everything. But we'll get it out here. There's a few things that fell through from the top. But we'll get it all cleaned up. I'll get you a closer look over here. We can see inside this thing. All right, so here we're looking at our sled gauge. And this is going to tell me the how much my sleeve protrusion is. So sleeve protrusion is just right around this edge right here. And I would do this on these. I would do them here, 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 and here at a cross pattern 4 times to get it right. So if I look right here, I need to get it leveled off where I'm not on that other sleeve. I'm at about 10 thousandths, and when I slide off, it drops to about 6 thousandths from where I'm at. It's a little hard to read. I'm not trying to read it exactly, but it's supposed to be around 3 thousandths to 35 thousandths. If I go back here, this back one's going to be harder to show you, mainly because I don't have the rest of the block back there. But when I go back here and I'm on it, I don't know if you can see that at the angle, but it's at about 4.5 thousandths, and I slide off, and it's still at 4.5 thousandths. So this sleeve fell in flush. So maybe, I don't know, maybe I thought I had it all the way down. When I pulled the head down, it pushed it all the way down. But this right here was where my leak was. I don't know that was causing the leak. It's possible. You would have thought it would have leaked out that end if I'd had some compression issue coming up through there, not all the way up to here. But anyway, we're gonna pop the connecting rod off, the rod cap off, excuse me, pull the piston out, pop this sleeve out and shim it and put it back in, new O-ring and everything. But I just wanted to kind of show you how the sledge gauge work. I've got to get underneath here and see if I can get to that last number 4 connecting rod cap without having to remove the counterbalancer, and I sure hope I am. All right, so let's look up underneath here. These are the plugs I was talking about. Here's one, there's 3, there's 4, and there's one back right up underneath there. And so it's all baffled in there. This is the center section right here for your power shift. If you don't have a power shift, you'll have a manual transmission bell housing right here that'll bolt up to the rear end. Now, I don't know why we have seeds on there. We'll have to check up in here. But let's look up in here. Here's my counterbalancer with my oil pickup right here. And it's just got 4 bolts here, but you have to have the gear timed to the crankshaft gear. I was looking up in there, everything pretty much looks good. But good news is I can get to number 4 right there without having to pop that out. So I can leave my counterbalancer in there. I don't have to worry about taking the lines off, because I remember taking those lines off. They were kind of a pain. And then we'll get all this cleaned up before we go back together. That's our next step. I'll rotate around here, pull those that cap off, and we'll see if we can push our piston out the top side, and then put our sleeve puller on there, pull our sleeve, and then get started putting it back together. All right, got some light down here where we can see. 3/4 inch. Use my impact. Reach up in here. Pull that one out. All right. There's our bolts. Set them off to the side over here. Let's see if I can. Come on. I'm gonna drop that cap. And my dead weight leader. Not sure where it went to. There we go. All right. There's our cap. Set it out over here. Now, get our bearing out. Wipe all that journal down. All right, and get it set up on top. All right, go over just a little bit. Try to take my hammer, the butt of it. There we go. That on the top side. Pull this piston up. All right. We'll make sure we know which way it goes when we go back down in there. I bought a Vevor sleeve puller. I've got this one up on one of my old sleeves. Last time I pulled the sleeves, I actually built a sleeve puller with just a plate and a bridge across the top and everything kind of like that. I got this one out, so I know which one fits. It's on the old sleeve puller. Pretty decent looking set. We'll get it all set up here and get to pulling. All right, so far, not keen on the V-bore setup. It uses these legs, which were way too long, and I was not able to get to the bottom of the sleeve for this 5-inch stroke engine. So maybe on a 4-inch stroke it'll work. We're gonna give it a try here and see what we can come up with. Let me get it where I can position it now. Oh, the other thing I don't like about this one, mine I just had a nut on here and I could use a wrench or an impact or whatever. This one, you gotta turn with these. I'm not 100% sure I like that. That wants to turn, so I'll get it tightened up, so we'll see. All right, let's see how this works. It's not tall enough to get to anything. I can't lock down my center because it wants to turn, so I'm gonna pull this tab out. On a bare block it would be fine, but the problem is I don't have a way to lock that down, so let's go with our Fearless vice grips here in a second and put on there. All right, got my vice grips on there. Now we're pulling. So far, I'm going to fail the Weaver one because the one I made in my shop works a lot better. Tilt you there a little bit so you can maybe see a little bit more. You can see it rising up a little bit. Should be almost there. Just got to pop that O-ring out down there. All right. I think I pretty much got it now. Give it a turn or two here. Now this is a wet sleeve, so they will come out a lot easier. Dry sleeves, you typically can't pull a dry sleeve out and save it. Now, you can hear that running out. There's a little bit of coolant goes around that jacket in there that didn't come out of the engine, so let me sweep a little floor dry over on that. Let's get in there and wipe that crank off because all of it's getting on that crank. One of those things you have to be prepared for. And I wasn't. Catch that. Ooh. Whole lot more in there than what I thought. Oh. And folks, we drained the bottom of the radiator. One thing I probably should have done was tried to find there was a plug on the side in one of the galleys and pop that out. But like I said, I'll clean this up. I'm going to give Weaver an F for this engine and a few other things. I really don't like their setup completely. So, but it did work. I made it work. So if you're wondering how I could have prevented my coolant from coming out around that sleeve and drenching everything on the bottom side, what I should have done is, if you've got a tank heater, you can just pull the hose off right down there. If you don't have a tank heater, you can take that plug out. And that would have drained pretty much all the coolant out. And that was my mistake for not doing that. So made a little bit of a mess. Got the floor cleaned up, and we got a few things to do on the top side. I think I'm gonna go on and start cleaning bolt holes out, make sure everything's clean on that, chasing the head bolts, and then we'll start putting that sleeve back in and everything. But first of all, we'll clean the top side up a little bit before we get to that.